Welcome back to Linked by Golf, where we uncover the stories behind the people who are linked by the game. I'm your host, Ross Maguire, and in this bite-sized episode, amateur golfers Kenny Gallagher and John Johnston share their incredible journeys of qualifying for the Senior Open Championship. First up is Kenny Gallagher.
So Kenny, we're going to jump straight into something that was really significant for you in your golfing life, and you qualified for the Senior British Open one year. So tell us all about it. What was that like, and what was the year, and how did it go?
It was 2013. I turned 50 in March that year, and my family said to me, "What are you going to do for your 50th? I'll be a senior golfer and all that now." And I said, "Well, I might just enter the Senior Open, just jokingly." So anyway, the season went on, or the season started, and people would say, "Have we entered yet? Have we entered yet?" And I wasn't really that bothered. So I downloaded the form. That was the days when we still used paper. I downloaded the form and I had it filled in, and I kept saying to myself, "Right, I'll send it away if I break 70 or whatever, So anyway, it was like a week before the entry date, and I was going up to play in the medal at East Kilbride, and I said, "Right, if I break 70, I'll send it in." So then I broke 70, sent the form in, and that was that. So I really didn't expect any. I really didn't expect any. I booked my accommodation for one night. I took down not enough clothes.
Brilliant.
Didn't have a caddie. Anyway, I played at Southport Ainsdale and played really well, and I was third in the qualifying.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. So then I had to, but luckily the place I stayed in could accommodate me for another night, but then you couldn't get me anywhere. They didn't have another room after that because people were coming down to watch the Open, and I had to phone back home and get a caddie to come down as well, because you can't carry your own clubs in it. You've got to have a.
But you're not actually allowed to, kid.
No.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, 'cause it's run by the European Tour, isn't it? Or the seniors part of the European Tour. It's run by them, I think.
Yeah, it is, aye. So when I qualified, I was all excited and all that there. I went home, everything was all organised. I went back to my digs, and then reality hit me of what I'd actually done, and then I get pretty nervous and stuff. But yeah, it was great. So the Open was at Royal Birkdale, and the weather was cracking that year. I had a great experience. I scored 278, but my objective was to go out and not make a fool of myself, which I really regret that now. I wish I'd went down and when I qualified, and tried to be a bit more positive about it. And it was a great experience.
Just circling back a little bit there, Kenny, how many people actually were in the qualifier, and what's the process like? How does that work?
Well, I think it was 3 courses or 4 courses. I'm not sure, maybe 70 or something like that at each course, with about 10 spots, roughly speaking, in each course. So I really didn't. I was playing well at that time, and it's only one round, which kind of appealed to me as well. It's a bit of a sprint, so you basically go out and try your best for one round, and you've not got the time to think about in between the first round and the second round to think about what you might be doing, and you just go out and go on with it. And then before
that's really cool.
Got a good score in. So yeah, it was great, and that was my first ever seniors event.
That was your first seniors event, the Senior British Open.
Yeah, it was. My first ever one, and Colin Montgomerie, that was his first ever one as well. And I actually was beside him at the driving range, and I said that, introduced myself and spoke to him, and said we're both got our first ever seniors event here. So it was really nice. It was great, actually. Really, really nice guy. Dead encouragement.
And that's exactly what I was going to ask, because I know someone else, Mold, and if he's listening, Johnny Johnson, my old school teacher for maths, or as he said, the only school teacher he had for maths. But anyway, Johnny actually qualified, I guess, a few years before yourself. But I remember the stories from people that know Johnny was that he saw all these kind of idols on the range. So what was that experience like? You obviously met Monty. Was there other people there that were kind of eye-opening for you?
Aye, absolutely. So you go and register and all that and get a photo taken. That was still all very exciting and stuff, And then we go in and there's your locker and stuff, and so your name on it and everything. So great. And then let's go to the practice ground. So off we go. So we got into the practice ground and I said to my caddie, right, you go and get a spot, I'll go and get some balls. I'm hoping that he's going to go away the furthest point in the practice ground away from everyone. I'll go down and get the balls and come back. And I've got Corey Pavin behind me. And who was it? What was it? Colin Montgomerie in front? I think it was Colin Montgomerie in front of me. So I'm walking back up and I see where he's standing and I just about had a heart attack. So the first couple of swings were a real good laugh.
I bet you. Trying to make contact.
But that was a wee bit of a scary experience on the practice ground. And then I had my first, coming off the practice ground, I've got my first and only ever 2 autographs.
Oh, brilliant. I was going to ask that as well. So you put no signature in there as well?
Yeah. So it was one of those moments. I signed, it was golf balls they had, so I signed the golf balls and I walked away and I looked back and I saw the 2 of them sort of shrugging their shoulders. Who's that?
That's fantastic. And then who did you play with, Kenny? Can you remember who you played with?
Yeah, I played with Bunchu Ruangkit from Thailand, Mark Milland.
Oh, I know the name Mark Milland, the Welsh guy, is that right?
Welsh, that's right. Yeah, I was a tour player for a long time, so yeah.
Brilliant. Well, what an experience.
It was fantastic, and I met Tom Watson in the locker room. He was my first golfing hero. Got a picture with him. He came walking in just after having played in the Open, and he came in and he was clearly very, very tired and didn't want anybody to bother him. But I decided that this might be one and only opportunity to just introduce myself to him, so I did, and it was great.
That's awesome.
Took my hand and got a photograph taken and stuff, and
that is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and I think
I talked to him on the range as well. He was great, really nice.
I think you're about the same age, given when you did your qualification, you're about the same age as my brother Kenny, and he certainly would have Tom Watson and those kind of guys as his people would really look up to. And Watson was obviously huge with doing the 77 Jewel in the Sun and stuff like that. So that must have been so cool to see him and meet him.
Yeah, I went to Muirfield with my dad's, and I think it was 81 or something like that. And we watched, on the practice day, we watched Watson, Nicholas and Gary Player. Gary Player was doing his usual stuff, high kicks and all that. So we watched them all the way around, and Watson played absolutely superb. And I said to my dad, I think he's going to win this, and he did. It was brilliant.
Next up, it's the remarkable story of my former maths teacher, John Johnson. Let's hear from John.
You qualified for the Senior British Open, and I don't know enough about that story, and I'd love the listeners to hear about it. So tell me all about how you qualified for the Senior Open when you were just after turning 50.
51. But what kind of really led into that was, in a way, in my middle 40s, I totally and utterly lost the ability to play golf. It sounds strange because later I'm going to come to playing the Senior Open. I'll give you an example of how bad I was. And it was David Park, the professional, reminded me of this a couple of weeks ago. The 17th hole at Wishaw, Ross, is a par 3.
Yeah.
And for about 2 years, I played that hole, and the only way I could play that hole was to hit a wedge off the tee and hit a pitch for my second shot, because I couldn't keep it within the confines of the hole. I was so bad.
No way.
And
wow.
I was losing all interest in golf. And I was teaching at that point at Armadale Academy. We used to take on a cohort of Egyptian teachers, and they would come in and shadow me. And the school and the department get paid money. I didn't get paid money, but the school did. And I used to go up at lunchtime. They would come to me. They called me Mr. Billy. You there? They called me Mr. John.
Right.
I was the only person that really talked to them. So I thought one day I'm going to go up to the driving range at Pokemon. And I said to three or four of them, I said, "Do you want to come up with me?" And they came up with me. So I went to the driving range that day. And I was so bad, I was getting fed up. And I thought, I'm just going to aim it at the right-hand side of this driving range and see if I can hit it back in. And whenever I did that, it clicked in. And I suddenly began to get my game back because I was getting so open that was either shanking or pushing everyone away right. And just by doing that, it transformed me. So at that point, I started to take an interest back in golf. And I was watching Sky Sports one day, and it was the British Senior Open in Ireland. It wasn't a Pro Trust. It was one of the other courses. I can't remember exactly which one it was. And there was this guy playing that was an amateur, a boy called Roy Smethers, who coincidentally I played in the Scotland-England match and things like that recently in the last few years. But Roy Smethers was on the telly, and he actually won the silver medal in the British Senior Open. And I was looking at this guy, and I thought, that's just fantastic. I fancy a bit of that. So I started thinking, I've only got a year or two to go. So I started taking a renewed interest in the game. And I've always played in the Eden competition up at St Andrews every year. I've gone there from about 1976. I've stopped now because I'm too old. But I actually won the cup there, the Victory Cup at St Andrews in 2002, which was when I was 49. I shot 71-68 in the new and the Eden.
And that is no mean feat. Both courses are pretty tough. I mean, new course is solid, and the Eden's no walk in the park. That's awesome.
At that point, I was probably playing just about the best game of golf of my life, and by that time I was a deputy head teacher at Colness, and that was a different year. So I was playing really well, and I thought, I'm going to have a go at the British Senior Open, and I entered. And the first qualifying was at Barassi. That was the year before. I actually made it into the Senior Open. This was in 2003. And I actually got drawn by a guy when he walked on the first tee. I said to him, where are you from? And he said, America, somewhere in America. I said, no, I mean, where are you actually from? And he said, no, I'm from America. I said, no. I'm saying, whereabouts do you come from? Because I could tell you're near me. He said, well, actually, I was brought up in Hart Hill. So that's
no way.
So it was in Hart Hill. But I reckon the guy was somebody that picked up balls at a golf range in America and called himself a professional. You remember that film about the guy in the hotel? This guy, he tore up because he wouldn't have broke 100. Anyway, I didn't play that well and I didn't qualify. But the next year, it was at Portrush. So my friend and I, David Walker, who I played a lot of golf, I still do, we looked at that and thought, we're going to have a go at that. We'll make a boys' weekend. So we booked flights and everyone booked in Portrush. And I went over to Portrush, and it was a qualifying, I think it was on the Monday. And I finished double bogey for 3 over par, which qualified me. So I can't believe it. So before I knew it, I'd qualified for the Senior British Open. Then I went along and I said to the woman, I remember going along, they took it and saying to the woman, I'm here, I think, maybe to collect a player's ticket. And she got all of this stuff and asked me how many tickets did I want, never like that. It gave me a list of all the things I got. I couldn't quite believe it because I was then just some guy from Wishaw that was going on holiday and for the week over to Portrush.
That's so.
My caddy David, he informed me at that point that he couldn't carry for me because he hadn't booked his holidays long enough. So he had to go home. He's the director of Jaya Adam in Glasgow. But anyway, I qualified as the British Open. It was a crazy situation. I couldn't quite believe it.
And you qualified round Portrush, so was that?
No, I qualified Ross round the Valley course at Portrush.
Right.
Which I would say is every bit as good a golf course as Royal Portrush. It's that good at the nick 2 holes for Portrush.
Yeah.
Because the last hole, the last 2 holes at Portrush didn't fit the definition of what they needed in terms of hospitality areas, etc. for the Open. So they moved 2 from the Valley up. So I think it was 73 round the Valley up. So I was suddenly faced with where am I going to stay and all things like this. But anyway, it was a surreal moment because I think the Tuesday was a practice day. Because I remember David and David is Tom Watson groupie.
Right.
And what I discovered playing in that week is these guys are superstars. they're just guys that are good at golf who are decent guys. So everybody just treats you the same. They talk to you and smile and say hello. Of course, David, being a Tom Watson group, he couldn't go over. You walk into the players' lounge and Tom Watson would sit and say hello to you. And that. Anyway, we went up to the practice area, I should say. You don't call it a driving range, do you? Practice area at Port Trust. And I hate practice. I never practice. I mean, I'm basically a weird golfer. I hate practicing. I'm no interest in it. So he insisted I go up to the practice area. So I walked up and there was a space. So I walked in, put the bag down, and I turned around. On my left-hand side was Isaiah Aoki. And on my right-hand side was Christy O'Connor Jr.
Oh, no. Yeah, wow.
You probably don't even remember these guys, Ross.
The guy
They're from a junior, not senior.
on Ryder Cup, man, on 18.
Yeah, I think Wizard, I think he probably did play in the Ryder Cup.
Aye, wow.
And we practiced away for 10, 15 minutes. I'm getting a bit bored. And a guy came up and tapped me on the shoulder. And I turned around and the guy said, mate, by this time, one of the two others, I can't remember which one had finished. Dad, you noticed. And he said, if you don't mind, is it okay for me to slip into the next booth? It was Tom Watson. So I had the pleasure. I wasn't really one to practice because I hated it. But I stood and watched Watson practicing for about an hour, which was a lesson in itself, because what you learn from a situation like that is Tom Watson swings his wedge exactly the same as he swings his driver.
Yeah.
So it was quite a surreal experience. The problem was my caddy would not let me leave the driving range. He insisted to stay because Watson was next to us. I must have hit hundreds of golf balls. Or somebody that doesn't practice. But the problem was the next day, the practice day, I had no feeling in my arms or legs anyway. But the practice day I played with, it was funny how things happened. I played with Bill Lockie and John McTeer.
Yeah.
I heard somebody recently here on mentioning Bill Lockie.
Yeah.
And I was playing at Wishaw last Friday with my friend David. And as we were going up the fourth hole at Wishaw, this buggy came over because a ball had nearly hit us. And the guy came over in the buggy and apologised for nearly hitting his drove away. And David said, "You know who that is?" I said, "No, I never noticed." It was Bill Lockie.
Wow.
I went down to the fifth green and over and talked to Bill and said, "You probably don't remember, Bill, the last time I saw that smooth, silky swing, it was in the practice day at Royal Trust." So it's funny how things happen. So, but the whole thing was just a kind of like a dream.
I can
That
imagine.
you went and people were asking for your autograph and stuff like this. And I'm saying, you've got to be kidding. You don't want my autograph. I'm an amateur. It's not that. It makes it more valuable when I get everybody to sign it. And I'm sitting here with a thing over there and you get free things and this and that. It was fantastic fun. But it was strange because none of my friends could be over there in Ireland. So
As it was such short notice as well.
I just went along and practiced my putting and sat and ate things and things. I went for a pint of Guinness. Anyway, it was very funny. We're actually talking a good time because I've just been watching the Open at Port Trust in the last few weeks, and all these holes, apart from the two new holes, I can understand what they're playing and what they're facing. But I played with two lovely guys. A guy, I think it was John Emery, a Canadian, and an Englishman called Mike Gallagher, who had been a good player.
Right.
But I don't think they were quite... it took them a while to adjust. I don't remember. I must be just about the fastest golfer in the world. I don't actually take a stance. My cousin did a video of me in my 20s, and we watched it recently because he got put in a digital. And at that point, when I started my swing, my left foot was about 4 inches off the ground. My foot wasn't on the ground, and I started my swing. So I remember it's Ivor Robson. You remember Ivor Robson dearly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a big crowd too, because Tom Watson and is it Romero, the big guy Romero? Tom Watson and Romero were 2 lots in front of my lot. Don't ask me why. Sky must have scheduled it. So there's big crowds. So on the first tee, I always remember my favourite memory is in the first hole at Trust. It wasn't like you see in the TV now where they hit irons. It was a driver.
Right.
Because it was in those days, it was quite long. And out of bounds right, out of bounds left. So you can imagine I was a wee bit nervous. And the fate Ivor Roberts, I always remember saying, on the first tee representing Wishaw, Scotland, John. And as he got to John, I went, where's hit it? I hit it before he finished my name. So at about the J of the John, I drove. Neither of my partners saw me hit it. They didn't know where I'd gone. But it was brilliant. But people look at my score, but you have to hear my first hole. So I hit my drive about 260, right down the middle. And at that point, I had a set of clubs called Pure Spin, and they were diamond-crusted faces. Right? Trust me, you can only play about one shot and you have to change your ball because it ripped it to pieces. So the pin, it's a two-tier green. At the first at Portrush, you'll have seen it in the TV, but it's different in real life. And the pin was on the back level. And I hit a fantastic shot. And I got real rapturous applause. But as I started to walk forward, the rapturous applause changed into a groan.
Oh, no.
And as I walked, I saw this white thing appearing, and it rolled in about 20 yards into a bunker, and I had to chip it out sideways, and I made 6. But when I got up, the marshal told me my ball was right at the pin. He said it took one bounce from the bottom half, right on the top half, right beside the hole, spun, must have spun back 30, 40, 50 yards for us.
Oh, dear.
Into the bunker. So I started with 6, and I never recovered it. And I thought the fourth hole, because I 3-putted the second for a par. I knocked on in 2 par 5 and 3-putted.
Right.
I barred the next hole, and I then had a great drive at the fourth, and the fourth's a really hard hole. I don't remember seeing it on TV. A really hard drive and all. And I had a fantastic drive. And boy said, great drive. As I walked off the tee, I said to him, I think there might be a problem for someone. I said, what do you mean? I said, there's a guy up there waving a flag. And they're saying, don't be ridiculous. No, it's none of us. But then the guy kept waving the end of my shoe. But I'd driven right over where you were meant to go, and I drove out of bounds.
Oh, no.
I did it that well, I drove out of bounds. So,
Wow.
it was fantastic.
What was the experience?
That's the experience. The score's immaterial because the famous hole, I think, the par 3 near the end, Calamity or something like it's called.
Yeah, 16,
And it's got a huge drop to the right. It wasn't 16 then because the course was different then. And you've got all these people ball spotting. And I had a shot and it was quite windy. And it just went a wee bit right at the green. And I walked up. And none of the spotters had seen me because I played that quick. They hadn't seen me hit the shot. So I lost my ball. Nobody could find it. I had to walk back to the tee. So it was quite a surreal experience. From then on, I was just playing for fun. But it was fantastic. Fantastic.
If you enjoyed these stories from Kenny Gallagher and John Johnston, please take a moment to follow the show and share it with a friend. It really helps more people discover Link by Golf. I'm Ross McGuire. Thanks for listening.
Lomond Golf Tours have helped thousands of guests build bespoke golf trips to create a magical experience. Travel in style with our executive chauffeur travel, whether it's golf on a major championship venue or one of our hidden gems, 5-star accommodation or a boutique bed and breakfast, or is it whiskey tasting on a private boat? Lomond Golf Tours are here to help build the tour of a lifetime. Whether you're celebrating a special occasion or ticking it off your bucket list, embark on a trip that you'll remember forever. To learn more about our offerings for 2025 and beyond, visit www.lomondgolftours.com.